welcome back to another episode of the Retro Release Podcast, the podcast where we go through a game's development from when it was getting made and conceptualization until after then, so after its release, and we hear what happens, what's the reception like? Is it good? Is it shit? Who knows? And I'm Will, and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael.
Yeah, I think we've got that down now, where
Yeah.
I don't say your name, but then you say it and you come in.
Michael.
Michael.
That's my name. If you don't say it like that, that isn't my name.
You've got to say it 3 times into a mirror, and then Michael will
Michael.
appear, and then, I don't know, tell you about video games for a bit, and then just leave.
Yeah, that's my job. I'll do it at a party.
It's me, Michael. I'm here to tell you about video games. Video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You'll be like, so the new FIFA, yeah?
Video games exist.
Done. Sorted. That's it.
Jaden Smith, is that you?
What was that thing that Jaden Smith tweeted about his eyeballs? Do you remember? Just like you said, do our eyeballs see everything if they don't exist? Do our eyeballs exist if we don't see them? Something like that. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
His
I know what
stupid type of tweet.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. So we thought before we get into the game this week, we might do a sort of little news segment, gaming news.
Yeah.
I was gonna give it a cool name, but I think gaming news or just news is probably the best thing.
The noose.
The noose. I love the noose.
Yeah, I like the nooses.
Well, the biggest thing that's happened recently was probably Fortnite. What's it called? It
ended the what they called the first chapter, didn't it?
And it's now Chapter 2, Season 1, isn't it?
So they've got a new map.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, because the old one got destroyed in like a black hole type thing.
And then there was just a black hole on the screen.
Yeah,
wasn't there?
and you couldn't play it for like a day or whatever.
Which
is, to be honest, it seems like quite a fun thing to do. Like I don't play Fortnite, but it seems like
I played a bit when it was like
idea.
Season 3, Season 4, and then I just stopped playing because I couldn't be bothered because it was Fortnite, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they did that thing, didn't they, where it happened in the middle of games, and then like the BBC was reporting on it. I didn't think it was big. I saw a tweet about it, and I just saw the black hole, and I was like, oh, Fortnite's up to its old hijinks again. And then the BBC was like, big news on Fortnite, and I'm like, is it though? People are like, is it the end of Fortnite? No.
No,
it makes too much money.
I think to be honest though, I think it's comparable to other like I don't know online stuff. Going dark for a day, and then just coming back suddenly. It is kind of big news, but
big news.
Like it's not like it was gonna not exist anymore. It was
there was not a chance.
Publicity stuff, but it was still interesting.
It might have introduced Fortnite 2, but I don't think it was the type of game or IP where they would just go, here's the second one. No. Considering it's free to play, I think they just keep it going.
Yeah, they'll just keep on updating it.
Yeah, with their battle passes and their Fortnites.
I know.
Other things. Other big news. I've not actually got any of this written down because we sort of decided to do news on a whim.
Ad-lib it, mate.
Ad-lib it. What was the game? Doom Eternal's been delayed.
Yeah.
Until next year. When was it meant to come out? It was this month, 100%. We're in the middle of October now, recording this, the 15th.
It was definitely this, like, the next. As I remember, it was definitely the next month or so. But
yeah,
it's quite like you were saying the other day. It's quite late to delay a game. Only like a month or so before the release.
For 5 months as well. It's up till March.
It's mad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited for it, and I think it means it'll come out good. That's the main thing.
I'd much rather they do that than get it wrong.
Yeah.
FIFA's the perfect example, but whatever.
Roasted. And you've been playing a lot of FIFA, actually, haven't you? So, what's been going on with that?
I've not been playing as much because the thing is when you've got a mode like career mode that's just like it's basically broken, you don't feel like you want to play it. So they've got players, they've got teams.
They've got players. Well, I hope they've got players.
So the teams that you meant that are in the same league as you are fielding like their third teams, which is so it means that
not the first team.
Exactly. So it means like City or Chelsea getting relegated, and in a season it's like what's going on? But they haven't fixed it for like 2 weeks, and they've only just released a fix for PC, but not for console yet.
Wait, so they've released a fix for the PC career mode of FIFA, the one part of FIFA that's probably going to get the least amount of play.
Yeah, I know. The one part of FIFA that also you can mod to actually fix it, because that's what people on PC have been doing.
That's what people used to do with like Football Manager, because they'd mod in players, or they'd mod in like the icons for players, because they never had, and icons for like teams and stuff. Yeah, they didn't have one Football Manager.
It's mad, and they've only just released this update, and I mean, finally good, but I think it's an absolute shambles the way the EA have handled that.
Yeah. As per usual.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, it's like I really enjoy FIFA 20's gameplay, but it's just you can't even get into it when the mode's broken.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean,
it's a shame.
Aye.
Any other news?
Well, apparently some people have been getting review copies of Death Stranding.
Already? It comes out in November, actually. Yeah, that makes about sense. Or is it December?
I don't know.
It's towards the end of this year.
But I wouldn't be surprised if some people, like, low-key got it just to, like, get a feeler for it.
Because it's probably quite long.
Yeah, apparently people have been getting those.
I saw the PlayStation UK put a picture up on the social media, and it's of Norman Reedus' character on, like, a hoverboard flying around.
That sounds cool.
And I was a bit like, why? But I was also like, yeah, go on then.
I get a Blade Runner type feeling from it.
Yeah, I don't know. Sort of Blade Runner, Metal Gear Solid. It definitely feels like Metal Gear Solid, but I think that's a testament to Metal Gear Solid's cinematography and things.
Definitely.
Like that. And speaking of Metal Gear Solid, that was actually a really good transition. We didn't even plan that either. That was so. This week's episode is on Metal Gear Solid, but I've transitioned into it, so if there was any other news, I think it's gone. Doesn't matter.
I'm not sure if there was anything massive, like...
I mean, there's things coming out, but it's not exactly like that's news.
Yeah, we knew that already.
Yeah.
I think those are the big kind of things.
Yeah, the last, like, let's say, from when we last recorded, the last week, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
If we've missed something, though, sorry, lads.
Yeah. Tell us how bad
Let
we
us
are
know.
at
Let us
doing
know.
This podcast.
Give us a 1-star review. It's better than no review.
Yeah, that's true.
So... this week's episode is on the 1998 Hideo Kojima game, Metal Gear Solid, which is the first Metal Gear Solid game, but the third Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. My notes have just disappeared. Here we go. Right. So, I thought, as I always do, in a sort of cheap fashion, I start with the Wikipedia entry for the game.
That ain't cheap. It's such a good resource.
It is a good resource. Half the ones I got from here, like I found through Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Because they have the links at the bottom. So it says the game follows Solid Snake, a soldier who infiltrates a nuclear weapons facility to neutralize the terrorist threat from Foxhound, a renegade special forces unit. Snake must liberate 2 hostages, a head of DARPA and the president of a major arms manufacturer, confront the terrorists and stop them from launching a nuclear strike. Cinematic cutscenes were rendered using the in-game engine and graphics, and voice acting was used throughout. It doesn't really go into the whole sneak part of the game.
Yeah.
Because it's...
Well, if that's just an opening, then... I mean, to be fair, like, if I was writing an opening for something like that, I'd definitely put in...
about the sneak.
Yeah,
like the fact that
it's a massive part of the game.
It is. You could just say it's a tactical espionage game because that's an action game because that's what it says underneath, and it says tactical espionage action, which is what the game is.
Oh yeah.
You run around a little base, and then a guy's like, "Who? Probably nothing. Who? Probably nothing."
You've just killed his mate next to him,
and he's like, he looks at it, and then he just goes, "It's fine." I mean, in Metal Gear Solid 5, they improved on that AI a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And it would react over time, but it's still pretty stupid. But then again, if you're playing a video game like that and somebody noticed the dead mate and then just started screaming, it'd be a bit like, how are we going to do something about that? Yeah. Well, the game was developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Japan, which is a mouthful and a half for a games developer company, isn't it?
All right.
And then it was published by Konami and was directed by Hideo Kojima, who is often cited as one of the few auteurs of the gaming industry. The game is also viewed as one of the industry's most important games of all time, with it doing a lot for stealth, cinematic, and visual storytelling in video games. Did I just say storytelling? It's a storytelling.
I mean, the message got across.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
We should probably note up top as well, we are sort of sick again.
Yeah.
Not as bad as last time.
We're not again. It's the same illness. But
just, no, we got 100% fine again, and then we just came down with like a completely different sickness.
Yeah.
Down with the sickness.
Please, don't do that again.
I said that, and you just looked at me, and I'm like, please say you at least know what I'm trying to get across here. Who's that? Who's that album by? Down with the Sick, or is it a song? I actually don't even know. That's really bad. If somebody's listening who knows that, they're gonna be so mad.
The fuck? That was like, what was that? I have
It's
no
Down with
idea.
the Sickness, the one that's like, oh wow.
I have literally no idea what's going on. I am so lost. What podcast is this meant to be?
The Down with the Sickness podcast.
Where have I stumbled in from here?
You went past the Retro Release podcast and you went into the Sickness podcast, which is just 2 doors down.
I've just crashed into an alternate universe. William talking about some rap album.
It's not. It's a heavy metal album. I know that much.
Well,
it's. I can't remember. This is really bad. I don't know if it's Slipknot or something like that. But then again, it's not my type of music, so I think I should say that at least.
Yeah.
So if anybody listening is like, "Oh, he's got it wrong. He's an idiot," it's like, yeah, I am an idiot. I don't know what Down with the Sickness is. That was what. It's just what I would say when I'm ill. I'm down with the sickness. You know? It's not fun for me. It's just.
It
sad.
sounds like something our parents would say when they were trying to be cool about saying it.
And they do the little hand phone.
Yeah.
Down with the sickness.
Down with the sickness. Cool with the cool kids.
Yeah, but they weren't the cool kids. That was the twist.
Yeah, no.
Your reaction.
Just regular kids.
Yeah, this is how ill we are again. It's like sort of we get delusional. It's like I'm fine most of the day, but if I talk for too long, I just sort of lose it, which really doesn't help this considering it's a podcast, which is all about talking. But that's why I've got a script, and I could just go off that instead of chatting shit for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Which I could do, but I'm not going to. So, in terms of conceptualization and development for this one, we've had this a couple of times with other games, but it's less. This one sort of is less about having an actual narrative from A to B of how they conceptualize the game itself to making it, and it's more little things that happen throughout that are really interesting, because as I said before, this is the third game in a series which had already been out on the 3DO Interactive, which is like a really old console, and it was top-down isometric sort of viewpoint, and all the stealth and that was already pretty much in the game at its core. So in Metal Gear Solid, a lot of what was there was already established.
Yeah.
So I can't really sit there and be like, they came up with the idea for stealth through because it's not from this game, it's from like the original Metal Gear, but I just think talking about the original Metal Gear wouldn't be as interesting.
I think this is the one that people tend to think about. Yeah,
this is the big one. We'll get to that as well. There's a lot of, this is a huge game. And this is one of those ones where when we get to the end, we can talk about it. You'll realise not just what it's actually done for video games in general, considering it came out like over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
21 years ago? Yeah. So, originally the game, what would have been called Metal Gear 3, was to be released, as I mentioned, on the 3DO. However, after the 3DO was discontinued in late 1996, the game shifted development to the Sony PlayStation. The strange thing when talking about this game's development is that whilst it was popularised through the stealth genre, and whilst it popularised it, they sort of did that for each other. It popularised the stealth genre, and the stealth genre sort of popularised the game back and forth in a lot of ways. It was part of a series of games already, as I was saying. There we go. I'd already lost what I was on the script, because I'm like, just ill as hell. But we'll get there in the end, I'm sure. So a lot of its concepts were already in place, meaning that they weren't new to Metal Gear Solid itself, but new to the 3D space. That's the major difference, and that's what I was trying to get home before. It's more about bringing an already established IP to 3D, but improving on it and popularizing it in the sense of bringing it to a bigger console. Because I hadn't heard of 3DO before this.
Yeah, nah, me neither.
It's not even 3D either. That's the ironic bit. It's 2D. So why is it called the 3DO?
I don't know. I think is that where they were going for the name though, or is it just some?
I have no idea. I just looked up when it got discontinued when I was reading about it. I didn't really look up any. I probably could have, which might have made this episode a bit more interesting and full. But you know,
fuck's sake, well.
It's the 3DO. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
You've never heard of it. It's like no one wants to listen about the 3DO when you're talking about Metal Gear Solid. So this shift in platform also came with a small rebrand, as the previous 2 games in the franchise were just Metal Gear. It was Metal Gear and then Metal Gear Solid Snake, I think. Either way, it was the main title was just Metal Gear. So the PlayStation release was to be known as Metal Gear Solid. With the word solid, I found like 4 different reasons for this, so I don't know which one's true. I mean, we can try and figure it out, but the first one said the word solid came from the main character's name, Solid Snake, which was already established before this game, so it's like, that's probably believable.
Yeah.
It was also apparently to signify it was the 3rd entry in the franchise, and to illustrate the game's move from 2D to 3D, because it went from flat 2D to solid 3D. But also, and this is according to Kojima himself, it was to illustrate Konami's rivalry with Square, which I have no idea why putting the word solid in the title of a game shows a rivalry with a company called Square.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's...
If it was Metal Gear Circle, then I might be inclined to believe you.
Or maybe our... I actually have no idea where it's going at that point because it's so ridiculous. Like, what? It's the dude's name. That's it.
Yeah, like, I think that's the one that makes the most sense because his name was already established and it was the subtitle of the game previous.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense. And I would hazard a guess that the idea that they were like, Metal Gear, well, let's give it a new name because it's 3D, and they went, Solid Snake. They just went, one of them just goes, Metal Gear Solid, and they're like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And then...
Like, it's a cool
name.
thing to say.
Metal Gear Solid.
Exactly.
And then
you can reduce it to MGS as well.
MGS, MGS is cool.
Yeah.
MGS sounds like a drug.
It does. It does.
Gonna pop some MGS in the club toilets.
It sounds like that thing that people say advertisers not being in the food. It's monosodium glutamate. It's MSG.
MSG. Yeah.
But it's it sounds a lot like that.
You hear about MSG in like the fast food things that come in the little tubs, don't you? They put
no MSG and oh my god, cholesterol.
What's that from?
It's a Vine. It's
a
Vine. Oh yeah. It says 0 milligrams of cholesterol, but she reads it as, oh my god, cholesterol.
Classic Vines. I don't know how you could squeeze 6 seconds of comedy into something and it still be like absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I know.
I guess that's just the goodness of Vine, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do you remember when Vine 2 was going to be a thing?
Was it?
Yeah, for ages.
I had no idea.
Vine 2 was apparently getting off the ground, and then I think TikTok came out, and it's just like, nope.
Vine 2.
Vine 2. It doesn't have a good name, does it?
Nah.
It's no Metal Gear Solid.
I was going to say, exactly.
Just call it Vine Solid.
No.
No.
Vines.
Vines.
Like aliens.
But with a Z.
No, just with an S.
Oh. With a
Vines.
S and a Z. Like SZ. No, okay. Just Vines.
Yeah.
Well, sadly, no, Vine's no longer a thing, is it? But, you know,
well,
we live on. We live on.
Yeah.
In a sad new world with just Vine compilations on YouTube. So, a GameSpot article claims that the studio, Konami, and whatever the name of the actual studio was, like Konami Computer Entertainment Gaming Software.
I think it's fine to just call it Konami.
Konami, yeah. Okay, so I'll interchange Konami with the publisher and the actual developer because they're both in-house sort of thing. Like when you say Nintendo, you can mean them as a publisher or as a developer. Yeah. So, a GameSpot article claims that the studio, Konami, was aiming to make Metal Gear Solid the best PlayStation game ever. According to the game's publicist, Hiroki Tabata, now I think that's how you say it correctly, it probably isn't, and I have this every episode we do a Japanese game, I'm always like, sorry about the names, because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Nah, I was trying.
Yeah, at least I'm trying out here. I'm not trying to be funny when I'm saying people's names unless they have funny names. But
yeah, I know.
There's nothing funny about Hiroki Tabata. It's just like it's his name.
Yeah,
it's like my
name. That
name.
is the name.
It's just boring. No offense. So the way they were going to do this was by fooling the player into believing the world itself of the game was real. As Kojima stated in an IGN interview, they aimed for this goal by bringing in real-life experts. They handled real weapons and were given advice from the Huntington Beach SWAT team to help create the sense of a realized military world, and this even includes them saying that every single desk in the game was individually made. So they go from we shot guns and we had a SWAT team, and then each desk is different.
I was gonna say, what? Wait, how does that add to the game?
Well, no, because what the point is, and the reason I ended it on that is because the point is that they're trying to make it the best PlayStation 1 game of all time. So they want it to be realistic as hell. So they like handle weapons themselves, so they figure out how they work. They got a SWAT team in to figure out about like tactics and weaponry and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like that. It's not just extending to the military side of the game. It's also we want it to be realistic as possible. So instead of creating a desk and then just placing that everywhere, it's like each desk we put different things on it. Like, we didn't have one model for the desk. Each desk was like, well, the computer can go there, keyboard can go there, and then you could put, like, I don't know, a CD there, a coffee cup there, and they did that for each individual desk, apparently. I don't know if
They just cover their own desks.
Yeah. The guy, the programmer, sat at his desk, and he's got like a picture of his family on the left, and then like a coffee mug and some cookies or something. I don't know, or ramen because they're in Japan. I don't know, sushi, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're allowed to have food on the desk, but he's sat there and he's making a desk. He's like, how should I design this desk? And then he just looks around and he's like, I've got it.
Yeah, he does that, and then he like, I don't know, takes a picture of the screen of what he's doing, and then like puts that onto the computer screen.
So it's a computer screen with a computer screen on it.
Exactly.
With a computer screen on it, with a desk. Oh, that's confusing. But I know what you mean. Like, he's taking a picture of that and then put that on the actual computer.
Yeah.
And then does he take a picture of that?
Maybe.
if he's feeling adventurous. So that's how they decided to try and make the game realistic. And one thing that the MGS, I nearly said MSG then, because I've written MGS because you're talking about MSG. The MSG franchise. One thing the MGS franchise is known for is its ludicrous and over-the-top character and mech designs, because, you know, especially in MGS5, they have that bipedal mech that comes canonically before the one in this game.
Yeah.
But the one in this game is more like, I'm trying to think of a way to describe. It's like low lying. It's got like, and it's always.
It's more of a tank looking thing.
Yeah, they're still got like legs, but it's like crouched. That's It's more like crouched, and they still have like the weird head and things like that. So, artist Yoji Shinkawa made these designs possible of the characters and the mechs, because you know all the bosses are always like really weird. You got like Cyborg Ninja, then you got Snake.
Yeah.
Liquid Snake, who's just Snake with white hair. And...
Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake. Where's Gaseous Snake, boys?
You've made that joke before at work, and it was as bad then as it is now.
What else would there be? Would you have like Quark Snake?
It'd be Plasma Snake.
That's not a bad name.
Plasma Snake.
Plasma Snake.
I don't know. I mean, Liquid Snake.
Naked
great.
But then again,
name.
in MGS5, he's called Naked Snake. That's not a good name,
Naked
is it?
Snake.
That's like ooh.
Yeah.
All the ladies on Mother Base are like, look, it's Naked Snake. Ooh. Although there's not that many women in MGS5, is it? You can recruit like any of them.
Yeah.
But there's still not that many women. It's usually just guys that are like, hey boss, you want to train boss? And they just
knock him out.
And he's like, thanks boss.
What's his other nickname in MGS5?
Venom Snake.
That's it, yeah.
Why does he have two?
I don't know.
And then he's also Big Boss.
I think it's meant to be like a before and after his
operation thing.
Like, he gets, like, it's a weird one.
Decked. So, Shinkawa designed Solid Snake after martial artist and actor Jean-Claude Van Damme. Which, looking at Jean-Claude Van Damme, and especially like trying to think of him younger 20 years ago, I can see it.
Yeah.
Because you can't really tell what Snake looks like. But then apparently this bit, I can't believe this. It says, Snake's facial appearance, or lack thereof, that's my own little editorial right in there, was based off Christopher Walken. You can't see what Snake looks like.
That's weird.
Have you seen in the first Metal Gear what he looks like?
Ish, but not.
It's like a bandana, some hair, and it's PS1. He has like no facial appearance. He doesn't even have eyes. He just has like darkened bits and like a darkened bit for his mouth.
Just a general, I don't know, poly shape.
Yeah, like a really shit poly shape. Like if you think, for example, going back to our last few episodes, if you think Crash and Spyro have like really good facial expressions because the cartoon, it's like imagine the limitations of having to use less polygons on a human face.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't have exaggerated eyes or an exaggerated head because he's a human. There's no emotion there. And when they say Christopher Walken, I'm even like, what? How?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I know what Christopher Walken looks like, but I can't imagine PS1 polygon Christopher Walken. We've got to get the Metal Gear Solid.
That's fucking awful.
Can you do a Christopher Walken?
No, I can't. I'm not gonna try.
He's got a really like funny accent, as he
yeah.
He's like, nah, that's not it. That's not it.
No. I think I don't know, it's very
he's like he pauses between
soft.
like and he pauses between every single one of his words.
Yeah.
It's a really fun, it's a great accent. Imagine if Snake wasn't played by David Hayter, but it was played by Christopher Walken. I think that would be good. Or instead of getting Keith Sutherland for the fifth one, you can get Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Oh god. I think that would be funny, but it would wear thin real quick.
Oh yeah.
Because Christopher Walken, like that voice would just, you'd be like that. Like for Keith Sutherland or David Hayter, I think you at least you can visualize it more because they both have like really serious and gruff voices. Otto Khan, Mother Base.
Yeah.
Like they just do that.
He was in 24, wasn't he?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, he played the main guy in 24.
I watched
so
like the
that
first.
probably helped.
I watched the first episode of 24, and as soon as I saw the first ding, ding,
Yeah.
I was like, nope. I was like, I don't need this. I don't need every episode.
It's such a fucking circle jerk about post 9/11 USA, like.
Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah.
Terrorism.
Exactly. It's like honestly, it's such a. It feels like fucking propaganda.
To be fair,
honestly,
if if Metal Gear Solid was made in America, it would 100% be post 9/11 American, like. And it's already quite a lot of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially after 9. Well, obviously not this one because it's before 9/11. But after 9/11, a lot of it was like reaction to 9/11. Because you can imagine with all the terrorists and all that kind of stuff. Don't let the terrorists win. What's that from? Is that CS:GO? That's CS:GO. I thought it was Call of Duty, but no, the one where it's terrorists win. That's CS:GO, I think.
All right.
Yeah, but then COD has the, as we always quote, COD has the best round ending and round break voice actor because he's switching sides.
Switching sides. We'll get him next time.
We'll get him next time. Don't worry, lads. Like really gruff SAS guy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of voice that Snake has. Actually, I would say it's the very like not British, obviously, because he's American, but he's like, you get him.
What?
I'm losing it again.
Get him.
Oh, got him. Get him. So, actually, let's continue with the script, shall we? Instead of talking about MGS and CS:GO. Well, we are talking about MGS, but like CS:GO and
I was going to say
the voice.
Podcast episode is on MGS.
I told you I'm losing it. We could. It's got to the point now where at first I was thinking, should we just start this episode again? And I'm like, it's funny, innit?
Yeah, it'll be alright.
It's bants. It's bants.
Yeah, just crack on with it.
And now that I've said start the episode again live, it's like I either have to cut that out or start again, and I'm doing neither of those things. So
just crack on.
You're stuck. Kojima also wanted the game to be accompanied by what I would call a fluid music track, which is something after I explain it to you, you'd probably be like, you probably couldn't name a game that has it, but you would realise that a lot of games do have it these days, where he wanted the tempo and the texture of the music to change depending on the situation. Sadly, this could only be achieved on the PS2's Metal Gear Solid 2, with music played in-game for the first one, has a synthetic feel, with increased pace and introduction of strings and things during tense moments. So it's not exactly what he was looking for, but it had a looping style endemic to video games. It was one of those, like tunes where it's quite simple, so you can loop it. But essentially, what he wanted to do, Kojima, he said he wanted to have like an orchestra next to the player. So he wanted it to be like bombastic as all hell and like you're in a movie theater or something. Because as we'll get through this, he wants it to be like a movie.
Yeah,
and he did that with.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised with the amount of
the last cutscene of MGS. The last cutscene of MGS4 is just like 2 hours long, and then in MGS5, as you were saying, they do that thing where at the beginning of every single fucking mission, it's like directed by Hideo Kojima. It's like, that was horrendous. But
like at the end of every single one, you complete it.
Like you press the complete
Pequod arrives shortly in LC.
Or you hear the helicopter, and then you just hear. I just played Take On Me the whole time.
Yeah.
Or The Man Who Sold the World.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Good songs, actually. I really like how they incorporate that into the game.
I saw someone a while ago post a thing on YouTube. Like, well, they made a YouTube comment.
So it wasn't a video. It was a comment.
No. And it was like, it was on the version of The Man Who Sold the World. It was on the not MSG, MGS5 version, and this guy just says, he did sell the world. He sold the world a fake version of himself or something. I was like, that's the cringiest shit I've ever read in my life. Honestly. And it was like, I had like 2,000
likes,
thumbs up or likes, whatever you want to call them.
Thumbs up, upvotes.
Updoots.
YouTube Karma. No, that's Reddit Karma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is Reddit Karma an actual thing? Or is it like...
You do have Karma, but it don't mean anything.
No, I mean, do you get it? Is it a thing that you get?
Yeah.
I thought, because I always thought it was like a quote unquote not real thing.
No,
like,
no,
it
is,
like,
yeah. It's basically just like it's a point system you get for the amount of upvotes and comments you make, and also you.
So like in Fallout.
Yeah, kind of. You don't get anything though.
Oh yeah, true. In Fallout, you either get like bombarded by like guys in a helicarrier, not a helicarrier, you know, like in Fallout 3, and that when you had really low karma, they'd have like the guys that the Enclave would come in the what do you call it? Like they are like the Quinjet. They're not Quinjets, but they're like Quinjets from the Avengers, and they drop in and then they just try and fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Because you want it to be a bad person. I'm like, that's not how the real world works, though. Well, actually, it probably is, because it's kind of like if the police.
Is it how the Enclave work, though? That's what you think.
Yeah. The Enclave are just annoying.
Yeah, I know.
Fallout 3 is just more annoying the more I think about it. I go back. They couldn't even put in iron sights into their aiming.
Yeah.
At least Metal Gear did that. We'll get to that. That's part of the twist. Oh, we're coming back around again. That is part of. They did that for the remake for this, but again, we'll get to that. So, overtly cinematic music with stronger orchestral and choral elements appears in cutscenes over the actual game, because it's easier to just write music for a cutscene and just play it as the cutscene goes, instead of being like, well, if this happens and the alert goes off, we have to change the music. You know, it's easier to just have it in a cutscene, which is trying to set a specific tone.
Yeah.
Because the player doesn't have any influence over the cutscene itself. The soundtrack was released on September 23rd, 1998, under the King Records label. And I found a lot of the soundtrack online. It's all right, to be honest with you. I mean, it's one of those soundtracks you can't really listen to on its own, because it's really, it fits the game more than anything. It doesn't fit just listening to it.
Yeah, it's meant to set a tone or a feeling in it.
When you just sat there listening to the dun 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 dun, it's like, right, I'm not sneaking around anywhere. I'm just sat in bed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really have the same sort of feeling better, but in the game it does. So he was held back on his music, was Hideo Kojima, but he is now seen as one of gaming's biggest icons, and it all really starts with this game because of how he presents himself. Because he wasn't the first person to put his name on a game. Because you know how it says a Hideo Kojima game on most of the Metal Gear Solid games, which is like, all right, mate, calm down. He's very much like trying to big himself up, and as you were saying, he puts his directorial credits at the beginning of every mission on Metal Gear Solid 5, which gets annoying real fast. At least in this, it's just on the box, and it says it at the beginning. Actually, doesn't just say that. We'll get to something else. Very soon. But he was beaten out of doing this, as in putting his name on a game, by a guy called Warren Robinett, who placed their name on 1979's Adventure, which I think is like the first proper adventure video game. It's the one you've just seen gameplay for it, the really simple one, which is like you're a little yellow cube, and you like move around the screen, and you have to like get a key, and then you go into a castle.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a really old game. It's pretty shit by today's standards, let's be honest. But again, it's a lot like this. It's pioneered the sort of adventure genre. But he did that first, so Hideo Kojima isn't the first person to do this. I think he's just the first person to have a big impact that sort of puts his name on the game. And this level of identification and character from development is something that carries through the whole of the series, as we were saying, because MGS5, we've said it again, and we'll say it before, we just keep saying it, he puts his directorial credits at the very beginning of every mission.
Yeah. It doesn't even bother me. Like, if he wanted to put it at the end of the entire thing, I get it. It's the fact that he does it after every single, like, mission or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like nearly all the credits, just him, and it's like, dude, we get it. Like, you don't need to.
Sorry about that cough. Oh well. Yeah, he doesn't.
It's just it's so bizarre. That's the thing.
It is pretty bizarre. But then the worst one, or the best one, as some people would call it, comes from the Psycho Mantis boss fight. Psycho Mantis. Have you seen that meme?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's just, I've seen it on I can't remember what video it was, but it was like, you know, in Shrek where he goes like, Shrek, donkey. Or like Fiona, and they do that, and they go around each other. He does that, and then it just goes Psycho Mantis. That picture of Snake, and he's just like, his head bubbles, and he's like Psycho Mantis. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, I love that. I really do. But in the Psycho Mantis boss fight, you've probably heard about this boss fight before, because what he does is he has telekinetic powers, so he throws stuff at you from around the room, and then he makes your controller like rumble and inverts it. And then he also reads your memory card, and he's like, you've been playing this game, and it's like, at the time you're probably like, what?
Yeah, it's very, very meta.
Yeah. Then he turns the TV off, and do you know like old CRT TVs might, when you going through the channels, have like in green letters in the corner, like you might say DVD, video, TV.
Yeah.
Well, it does that, and then in the corner, instead of saying video, it says Hideo. Because if you switch the V, the H in video, it spells Hideo.
Fuck yeah!
I know.
Honestly,
how bad is that?
Jesus Christ! I love him to bits, mate, but
because he's
honestly
an incredibly good game designer. But...
he gets to a point where he's just like he's honestly, if he made a clone of himself, he'd probably just lock him up for like a sex thing. Like, honestly, it's so weird.
Yeah, he does strike me as that kind of person. He would definitely lock his clone up to have sex with. Like that might be a bit too ludicrous of a comment for a podcast about Metal Gear Solid 5, but I think it would be true.
Yeah. Maybe... He's definitely had his bottom 2 ribs removed. He has.
All of his ribs removed, mate. He snakes around the floor. He wants to be so much like a snake.
He snakes around the floor. Jesus Christ.
I don't know why, but the image of not having any ribs made me think you'd have to like slide on the floor to like drag yourself. But I don't know if you had no ribs, because you still have your spine.
Yeah, you'd still be spine, but like
your guts would just be spilling out.
Yeah, they would be exactly. Like you wouldn't really. Your spine would just kind of, I don't know. Would it crumble-ish? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like your shoulder blades just like slide through like your arms.
It's an image nobody wants to think about, really, isn't it?
Nah.
No. So The Ringer, which is it's just like an online publication thing, writes a great article titled "The Mad Unlikely Genius of Metal Gear Solid," and they set the sort of stage for MGS as they talk about it as a more serious espionage sort of flip to Rare's GoldenEye, because GoldenEye was very much based off action and a film that was an action film, really.
Yeah.
James Bond, whilst he's like a spy, it's not really a spy film. It's like if you said Kingsman was a spy film. They're not spy film. They are, because they have spies in them, but they're more about dun 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 driving a car through a wall.
If you actually kind of want a spy film, you're basically just going to be watching about 7 hours worth of footage of people waiting for something to happen.
I thought you were going to say if you want some sort of like spy espionage, you're going to watch people like SWAT team into streamers' houses.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I love that. For the ladies and gentlemen, we got him meme, I hope one of the listeners understands what I'm about to try and explain. But you know how it plays that song that's like, na 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 na?
Yeah.
It always plays that. And then it plays the footage of the SWAT team going into the house.
Yeah.
And the guy that repels him like falls over.
Yeah.
He like lands on his ass. So fun. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Every time I think of the ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Oh, I'm not the microphone. Sorry about that. But I just get, I'm that excited. I just get the image of the guy dropping in, landing his own ass, and it being like, na 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 na. I don't know what the song is. It's a good song, but
you've recreated it quite well there.
Yeah, and it. I don't know where to go from there. I found that too funny. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. So it's sort of, this Ringer article sets that sort of scene as it's a follow-up. It's a more serious espionage game to GoldenEye, as they were quite rightly note, the Ringer, that it was a more action than espionage, GoldenEye and things like that, as I've said. Its subtitle, Tactical Espionage Action, which is what we talked about before, is noted in the article to help promote the game as a more serious and slower paced title. And I think, does saying Tactical Espionage Action take that across?
I'd say so, yeah.
Because even in MGS, I know we keep comparing it to MGS5, but I've played MGS2, a bit of MGS3, but they are all relatively slow paced.
Yeah.
And if you get into a massive firefight, odds are you're gonna get fucked, unless you have like the resources to call in like a tank or a helicopter.
Yeah,
Yeah, so as you say, tactical espionage, that's very like, I imagine you're like sneaking, snooping, looking around corners, doing that thing where he like knocks on the wall and the guy goes, huh? And
yeah, it's not like stealth. You think stealth missions in COD, and you really just kind of like
they're just action.
It's not an on rails thing, but it feels
it's like corridor shooting.
Much,
yeah. It's not. It's more action stealth than it is actual. Stealth, which is a mouthful. Like Dishonored is actual stealth.
Yeah.
Have you played Dishonored?
I played it a bit.
Oh, that's so good.
But I've not played it.
Games like Dishonored definitely borrow from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
You can tell like the way they sort of the gameplay loop more than anything. The mechanics change because they do interesting and different things. But so a What Culture article presents, and I've said here it's something that's almost unbelievable, and I think it's because it sounds crazy as fuck when you say it out loud. It's that Metal Gear Solid's levels were first designed using Lego.
I mean, fair.
So they built
that would be fun. I'd find that really fun.
There's a picture of like a guy with a Lego set on the article as well, and I'm like, okay, that's Lego. Good one. What Culture? That is Lego.
Yeah,
100%. So apparently this was due to how the developers were used to designing Metal Gear in a 2D space. So these 3D renditions of the game were essentially they were real world because they were 3D. So it helped with pre-visualization because the article says it would be easier to tear down a Lego set than it would be to tear down hours upon hours of building a level if you get it wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
So to visualize Snake and the enemies and characters in a 3D space, you just build it 3D first. And Lego's the most intuitive
it does seem
way
like a good idea.
It does, yeah. Because I think, especially if when it says that, I don't think it means they built everything in Lego. I think it just means if they were struggling to visualize something, like they're not going to go, we need a corridor, let's build it in Lego first. But if they were like, right, we need this room, and let's say it's a boss fight, and they're like, we need to put things in different locations. Well, let's make it in Lego and just see how it sort of feels.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't feel right in Lego, then we go back to the drawing board or the Lego.
It's a lot more easy to adjust.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's cheaper.
Exactly.
You don't have to spend
in terms of man hours, like
Yeah, you don't have to spend absolutely ages building it and then just tear it down. Well, you do, but in Lego it's easier to do that because you can just throw it on the floor.
Exactly.
But when you've built it in a game, it's like, well, that was a waste. You know, you just you feel like you've wasted time and money, and as you were saying, manpower and things. Well, the game has thousands of little details that all have interesting origins to be found, like how codec communication codes can be found on the packaging, like on the back of the game, or how one boss looks at your save files on the memory card, which is the Psycho Mantis one from before.
Yeah.
And this is about all I've got for the actual development itself, because as I said, it's, from what I could find, there's a lot of people talking about how MGS is one of the greatest games of all time. There's a Stanford, not article, what would you call it, research paper thing, that came out just before MGS2 came out that was like, why MGS1 is the greatest game of all time, or why we should be really appreciative on it. And it's like a good 40-page thing of someone, like a student, talking about it. And it's a decent read, but I didn't read the whole thing, obviously, because it wasn't really relevant.
Yeah.
But again, it was one of those things that's relative.
Go to that, don't listen to us. Fucking go and read that
Yeah,
thing.
don't listen to us stumbling over words, knocking microphones,
I know.
Talking about memes. Read something from an actual qualified student, which I mean technically I am because I did research papers, but
I mean anyone can do some kind of opinion piece.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
it's just, but
he's clearly 40 pages of opinion pieces.
No, it's opinion piece, but it's also like, here's the actual reasons as to why, and he's done research and he's got all of his links, as we do for this podcast, which you can find.
I wonder how you
Will
go
Nelson
around
2508 on WordPress.
I'd wonder how you go around trying to come to that conclusion though.
I don't know, honestly, but I think it's because at the time it's difficult when unless we played it many years ago, it's difficult for you and me to say the actual impact of these games, because we can very much say, well, people still talk about it today. But then I'd say you take a lot of the mechanics and things that games used to do for granted, because they're done in so many games today.
Yeah.
Like, for example, split screen multiplayer, or just multiplayer in general, was pioneered from GoldenEye very last minute.
Yeah.
One of the developers just threw it in on a whim, and it's like the most popular thing about that game.
Yeah, it's mad.
And then that's where a lot of multiplayer came. I'm not going to say GoldenEye is the reason for multiplayer to that extent, but it definitely helped.
Yeah.
Because of how popular it was, and people were like, actually, people love this, even though it's simple. So then you have games like Halo that absolutely knock it out of the water with multiplayer, even though it was on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
It's have you seen those adverts for the original Xbox Live?
No.
It's so cringe. It's 17-year-old kids are like, I can talk to random people online. And then another guy's like, yeah, he's like, this is so cool. And then you think about real life, and it's just a little kid that's like, hey, fuck you, man.
Yeah, I know.
My mom's going to beat the shit out of you.
Racist insults over the mic.
I went for a little kid who's snot-nosed instead of 40-year-old man in his basement who's racist. Because I felt like that wouldn't translate as well.
I think more little kids are more offensive on that stuff because they have that feeling of being anonymous, don't they?
Oh, yeah, so they feel like they can get away with it.
I feel like people that are older are a bit more measured.
Yeah. Or they can at least be like, I'm going to track down this kid and I'm going to report him or something.
Fucking hell, got to track down this kid.
Well, the kid's the one that called him a fucking fat loser, and he said he's gonna do something about it. He's gonna be like, "Hey, that's not fair." Exactly. And he's gonna like come at him, or he's just gonna keep finding him in Halo lobbies and then spawn killing him.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So anyway, now we get onto the release and post-release of the game, which is quite meaty this time around because there's a lot of interesting things that I found that I didn't feel like I could put in the development side of things, just because it seems like a lot of them happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Even though it's instead of it all being like this is the sales, it's a lot of it's like very relevant to like the game itself, which is interesting to see actually, and how they sort of even 20 years ago brought the game out again and added content and things like that, which is not something you see a lot these days. Let's be honest.
What, bringing a game out again?
No, I mean
remastering it.
No, I mean bringing a game out and then releasing extra content. You don't see it all too often.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of games, you do, and you pay for good content, but a lot of the time,
yeah, I was gonna say you pay for it.
The model is you buy a game and then you keep buying things on online services, and that's how we get all our money. Which is
there's very few games where stuff's actually worth paying the extra for it. Yeah. Like Witcher 3 is a really good example of things that are actually worth paying for. Because those 2 expansions are
some of the Skyrim ones. Not all of them. Like maybe
say more of the Fallout New Vegas
ones. Oh, the Fallout New Vegas ones are so fucking good.
Yeah, they're a good one as well. Skyrim's
more hit and miss, but Fallout's are like actually pretty much. Dead Money was always a bit iffy because of the whole collar thing.
Yeah.
But then again, I just like all of them because they all have great stories. Especially the last one, Lonesome Road, where you're like running around that irradiated hellscape. That's just America, am I right? Ha ha!
Don't you mean Hiroshima?
No, I was taking the piss out of just America, but that's what I was saying. Hiroshima's a better joke.
It's very, very livable, apparently.
It's a bit more edgy, that joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit too real.
That and Nagasaki, they're very, very livable. I'd say more like some of the like Bikini Atoll, because they absolutely decimated those islands in the nuclear tests.
Ooh.
Like they've been having to pay people reparations for it because they've been giving them cancer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know.
Good time.
Anyway,
nuclear war is relevant to
yeah, I was gonna
MGS.
say like
that's a very big because the Metal Gears, which are the giant robots, are powered by nuclear power. I think.
Yeah,
as well.
They have nuclear warheads on the.
Oh, they do.
And
yeah,
stuff.
and they could just fire a nuclear warhead off the back out just if they felt like it, which is really weird. So on September 3rd, 1998, in Japan, and just a month later in North America, Metal Gear Solid was released. It was met with an incredibly positive response at the time, garnering 93% and 94 out of 100 on game rankings and Metacritic, respectively. Most reviews say it's the best game on the PlayStation and arguably the best game ever made. Even officially, it was recognised in the same sort of vein, with it receiving an Excellence Award for Interactive Art at the Japan Media Arts Festival that year that it came out. That is crazy. And you know how before, for a lot of the games that are popular, I was like, they average around 80-ish. This is like 95. Between 90 and 95, it's like, it's a good game. It's a good game. I don't know how well it would hold up because I've not played it. I played MGS2 and I really enjoyed that, but then again, that is quite a large leap.
Yeah.
I think if you know what you're getting into, you can enjoy it because it is like a single experience that you can go from start to finish on.
Yeah. You shouldn't. I don't think you should go into it expecting it to look like anything.
Look to be anything amazing or like.
Or exactly, even to play.
Yeah. Or go. It's going to be an amazing stealth game. Just be like, no, it's a stealth game that came out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared for whatever it is, and then be surprised by some of the stuff it actually does.
Yeah. It's like Jurassic Park. You know, obviously, like the CGI in there is obviously aged, but it's still good, and the overall films are still amazing.
I think the thing that carries Jurassic Park, it isn't the first shot of the dinosaurs when he's like what's his name, Alan Grant gets out of the car, because that doesn't hold up that well.
No.
I think it's the emotion behind it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, which is why when did I go to see Jurassic World with you, the first one? No, maybe
we
not.
went to see the second one together, didn't we?
Well, the first one, when they go to the park and it plays the music, that for me was like, even at my age, I was nostalgic. I was like, this is sick.
Oh yeah, it makes you nostalgic.
And I think that's more about the atmosphere and the music, and that's what you would probably expect from Metal Gear Solid 5. You'd expect what it builds up to is bigger, and the way it presents itself is bigger than the game itself.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or that's what you might think now, 20 years later, but maybe at the time you were just like, this is amazing. I did look up a load of like people chatting about the game on forums and stuff, and a lot of it was like, I got this game on a whim, or my friend gave it to me, and it's the greatest game I've ever played. So it seems like even at the time, people didn't really know what they were going into, and it just took them by surprise, and that's why it was so good. Because whilst it today might not be seen as, I mean, obviously today it won't be seen as that good because it came out 20 years ago, but at the time, because of what it was and how unique it was, because even though I say it's the third game in a series, it's the first mainstream sort of game like that. Most people probably just like it blew their minds. As I was saying, just like a lot of the stuff that it does. So, as mentioned earlier, it is seen as the parent of the stealth genre in video games, pioneering the style that we're going to influence games like Assassin's Creed, Thief, Dishonored, Splinter Cell, and anything else you can think on that has stealth in it in the same way we do today. Because if we didn't have Metal Gear Solid, we probably wouldn't have that, or in the same capacity. Yeah, if that made sense, what I just said.
Yeah.
Again, I'm starting to lose it again because illness. Hopefully this isn't the next like 6 episodes. It's just every episode I'm like, I'm feeling horrendous, guys. So I'm just gonna read this, and if it doesn't make sense, leave it. What other games can you think of that would probably have been influenced in terms of, not in terms of cinematics, because that's pretty much every single game that's ever come out since 1998 has been influenced by Metal Gear Solid in that regard. But in terms of stealth,
because
like Assassin's Creed, as I said, Splinter Cell, Dishonored,
Batman Arkham series.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Yeah,
because that has quite a lot of stealth stuff. Like,
and it's a similar sort of vibe to the first Metal Gear Solid, where it's like a lot of the time you'd be trapped in an area, and you'd have to make your way around and take guys out. That's what Batman is in a lot of ways. Even the more recent Batman games, when they were open world, when you were doing stealth sections, it still locks you into an area, didn't it? And you had to like swing onto gargoyles and sneak around. Yeah, the Arkham series is a good one, actually. I didn't think of that because the Arkham series is split into 2 sort of gameplay things, isn't it? It's like combat and stealth. Without off the top of your head. And when I think of the Batman game, I just think of Batman. I don't think of like when I think of Assassin's Creed, you like stealth, Splinter Cell, and that kind of stuff, especially. Yeah, Batman's definitely, I would say, indirectly at least, influenced by this type of game. So, Metal Gear Solid also pioneered the cinematic aspect of video games, which is what I was like talking about before, sort of camera angles and stuff. Something that is much more noticeable in modern games that use cinematography and cutscenes. Like, I would say it's in like every single game that comes out these days.
Yeah.
On a console, like without fail. They're treated like movies in that regard. Yeah, unless it's like an indie game, or if the style of it doesn't mean you can't really have proper cutscenes. But if it's 3D rendered, odds are it's going to have cutscenes.
Yeah.
So MGS used cutscenes so much that at the time it was compared to a movie, something that is both criticised and praised as an aspect of modern gaming, if you would agree with me on that one.
Yeah.
Like some games, it's like Last of Us, you're like, this is amazing. It's like a movie in my hands that I can play. But then I'm trying to think of other examples where the cutscenes haven't exactly been praised too much. MGS4, with the cutscene at the end, that's like literally the length of a movie.
Stuff that gets taken straight out of other movies as well. Like, games which have cutscenes, but the cutscenes are like ripped straight from the...
Oh, you mean like video games based off movies, and then it's like some shitty quality like thing, but like, I don't know, the Matrix... Apparently the Matrix video game is actually quite good. But you know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what you're sort of getting at with that. Like, yeah. I suppose that's a different debate though, isn't it, really, when you think about it? Because it's more about they're just being cheap, but then again, when it comes to video games being based off movies, they have like time frames to hit on usually.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Mad Max game, which came out like a year after Mad Max Fury Road.
And it's not even really related.
No, it's not.
Still a really good game.
I mean, it is, because it's set in that world.
Such an underrated game.
That's what I hear about that game a lot, to be honest with you, but I never really played it.
Yeah.
Are you raising your hand there to say something, or are you just...
No, I'm itching myself.
He's itching him. He's just moving. He's making himself more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, in an interview with Jeff Keighley in 2014, Jeff Keighley is responsible for the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the thing that happens every year. Where last year, when God of War won an award, they got the guy that plays Kratos, Christopher Judge, and the kid. And he was stood on the stage with the kid, and he just goes, open it, boy,
Yeah,
and everyone just loses their shit because it was like a huge moment. The last year's Game Awards was actually really good. It was like emotional, fun, and then all the games that won should have won, like God of War,
yeah.
Red Dead 2.
The year that Witcher came out was 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the Game Awards for that one. I think it got snubbed for quite a few with that.
Oh God.
And yeah, it was a bit painful to watch some of the developers like reactions to not winning.
Because if you're talking about graphics, Witcher 3 should have just won that straight up at least.
Yeah.
Just because the fact that it's such a massive game and it looks fucking it still looks too good by 2019
Oh yeah,
standards.
it's an amazing.
I've seen it and
game.
I'm just like, how does it look that good?
I don't know.
Which is making me think Cyberpunk 2099, that's the Marvel thing. 2077 is just gonna melt your eyeballs.
Yeah, I feel like it.
And then just like inject new eyeballs into your head that are like made of like cyborg parts and be like, this is your life now.
That's what's gonna happen in the game.
It'll shoot them out of the disc tray right into your eyeballs, like beams. I'm really excited for that as well.
Oh yeah.
I know that's a bit more off
I
topic,
don't really know if someone who's a fan of gaming that isn't excited for it.
Oh, I think everyone's like, wee! That's my Comic-Con woo. If it was at Comic-Con, that'd be the wee! People waving their arms about.
You know, there's a reference to it in Witcher 3.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
What?
So so the girl you're chasing after, Ciri.
Oh yeah.
She you talk to her by a fireplace in one cutscene, and she talks about how to escape the wild hunt she had to like jump through dimensions, kind of. She doesn't say that exactly, but that's
no,
the
I know you mean.
implication.
It's yeah.
And then she talks about one.
She probably went, I had to go to different lands or something
exactly.
like that. And you're
she
like,
talks about one that sounds extremely similar to Cyberpunk.
That's cool.
And that's
So maybe there might be traces of Ciri in Cyberpunk 20.
I don't know.
That'd be cool.
It's a really really nice little reference because you're like, what's going on about
they're
that?
probably if that is a reference to Cyberpunk, in Cyberpunk there'll probably be a thing where just in passing somebody will be like, there was a girl dressed like she was from like a medieval fair that ran through here once with white hair, and it'll be like, that's Ciri.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it. And then that'll be cool. That'll be a nice little reference to get found.
I don't think it'll even be as on the nose as that, to be fair.
No, yeah, probably be
very hard to find, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. It won't be in the main story or anything. It'll be like some
in passing,
some random person would just say it once and then they never say it again. So if you missed it, it's gone. Yeah. And it's always that exact person. So yeah, in an interview with Jeff Keighley in 2014, Kojima said he didn't expect the game to sell that well or even like at all. He was just like, just making it. So we had fun with it. I was excited and it was something I wanted to make. So I didn't think it was going to sell, but it did because it sold around 6 million copies in its first year and it made $51.8 million in revenue that year alone.
That's good.
In the first year, it made 50 million quid. Well, dollars, but you know, one and the same.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And it was Japan's 5th best-selling game that year. Like, that is insane. Considering it's a relatively new thing and nobody had ever really... Maybe in Japan people have played it, but outside of Japan, I'm like, just a new IP... I suppose that happens a lot these days, though, with like new IPs that turn out to be really, really good. Like, in recent memory, what have we had that's... Oh, this might be a struggle, actually. We've not really had that much that's new here, have we, in the last few years? Because I'm trying to think of things, and then I'm like,
sure,
nope, Spider-Man's not new. He's been around for like 70 years. God of War, no, that's not new.
Cyberpunk. But we don't know, obviously, how that's going to sell.
Bloodborne is new.
Yeah.
Even though the mechanics are based off Dark Souls, it's a new idea. It's more sold off the developer's name from software than anything, but I suppose that's a different thing in general. But we don't really have that many new IPs anymore, so the fact that 20 years ago something could just fly under the radar and then actually be fucking mint and loads of people...
I'm sure we do. I'm sure we just can't think of any
because we have... I'm looking at my shelf. What have I got there? Assassin's Creed, Bloodborne, Fallout, God of War, Little Big Planet, Red Dead, Shadow of the Colossus. That's a new IP, I suppose. It's not new now, but it was at the time.
Yeah,
Spider-Man, Uncharted, and Elder Scrolls. Yeah, none of those are... They're all series. I suppose that's how you make money, though, isn't it? Because
it depends what you mean as new. Do you mean like in the last 5 years?
Relatively recently, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to think of anything, isn't it?
I don't know.
I was gonna say the new Doom, and I'm like, no, because the Doom
gonna say-
2016 is based off a franchise that came out like 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
It's like the first
already
person
very
shooter.
popular.
Yeah. So, due to its popularity, the game saw many re-releases, but not in the fashion that you would see them today, in the sense that the first being Metal Gear Solid Integral, which was released in Japan, and it had more content than the US and European versions of the game. It had an easier difficulty mode, a developer commentary, extra music, alternate enemy paths like throughout the levels and things, and positions for them to start in, and like weapons for them to have and stuff. And it also included a VR training mode with over 300 stages, and they focused on sneaking, weapons, or they weren't focused on, they were called sneaking, weapons, advanced, and special. And the first three are pretty self-explanatory. You know, you've got sneaking, which is about doing stuff. It's a VR. I saw pictures of this. It's like a VR thing. That's like, do you know that episode of The Simpsons where it goes 3D and there's the big hole?
Yeah.
It looks a bit like that. Like, then there's like structures which are made like of green lines and stuff.
All right. Yeah.
So, and you play as just Snake in those. So the sneaking ones you sneak. The weapon ones are about using your weapons. Advanced is about using like hand-to-hand combat and a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then special is just weird ass shit. Like, one of them was apparently like a murder mystery. Another one had cyborgs, and another one was about UFOs.
That's quite cool.
Which is quite. It's like, it's extra missions in content.
Yeah.
It's like, because when you hear VR training mode, you think, oh, that's bullshit. It's just going to be like, you just run around a little VR thing. But it's like actual. It's like an excuse for them to just make more levels.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But outside of that, I mean, 300 stages is a lot. It also saw a complete remake on the Game Club. The Game Club. Well, I don't know. I didn't write Game Club. I wrote. I'm losing it. This is it.
Yeah.
It's all downhill. We're at the end of the episode, but I'm losing it here. the Game Club. Oh my god. Right, so the GameCube, in 2004, it had Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes, which was like a HD remake of Metal Gear Solid. Like, everything was done up. I'm trying to think of a bit like the Crash remake that came out recently.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of everything. It played the same, but everything was like done up massively. And it introduced a load of mechanics that were in MGS2, like where you could go into first person when you wanted to shoot, which is in like pretty much every Metal Gear Solid game at this point. And it received, like, you know, scripting changes, like certain lines were changed just to be it didn't say ones that were like offensive or anything, you know, just they rewrote some of the stuff and re-recorded a lot of it just to make it maybe better, you know.
Yeah.
Slight little tweaks here and there, sort of thing. So it also received, well, the game, not this version of the game, just the game in general, received a radio drama in Japan, a comic. Notice how it says in Japan, but it doesn't say a manga, it says a comic. I didn't realize Japan was big on comics. Like, the manga, don't look at me and be like, manga is comics, because
I wasn't. Don't worry. I was just waiting for you to finish what you were saying.
And it received a comic and then a novelization, all in Japan. But I'm trying to think, a comic, is that like, must have been like a proper like graphic novel sort of thing.
Yeah,
which would be cool.
I'm sure they are popular.
Yeah. I just reading the article that this bit was from, it just showed like Metal Gear Solid merch and stuff that came out when the first game came. There's a fucking ton. There's there's a shitload, and a lot of it just says Metal Gear Solid on it. It's like a coaster or a mat or whatever, and it's just like, how do people buy this? Here's my room in the house dedicated to the first Metal Gear Solid. It's got a Metal Gear Solid.
It's a very specific niche.
It's a very, very specific niche. It's got David Hayter's face on like his duvet cover.
Oh god!
With a bandana on. Is it a bandana? It's not a bandana. It's not a bandana, is it? Because it's like what Snake wears. It's a.
And what, a thing around his forehead?
Yeah, it's not a bandana, is it? Because bandanas are like bandanas go over the top of your head.
No. I thought bandanas.
Oh, I am really losing.
No, I thought those are bandanas. Yeah.
Like the strip ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Naruto wears or whatever.
Yeah. That's where they are.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, but basically they probably put that in the game because they wanted their weeb Japanese children, players who like to watch like anime, to like think they were cool by wearing a bandana and pretending to be Solid Snake.
I don't know. I don't know about that assessment, but
that's just my modern preconception about weebs. It's very different.
Yeah.
I like to say weebs. It's a good word. Weeb.
I don't know.
Come on, Michael. Weeb.
I'm not saying
He's
weeb in that
weeb.
really exaggerated
Otaku.
voice. Otaku.
What's the other one?
think those are right, aren't they?
No, yeah. I was going to say a couple of other words, but they're not like to do with like a person that likes Japanese culture. They're just funny Japanese words, so it's like not the same thing. But either way, that's fine. But so where was I? So saying that finally, Metal Gear Solid, along with its sequel, Metal Gear Solid 2, what a name. Oh no, it was Metal Gear Solid 2. I've got it on my shelf over there actually. Can I see it from here? It's Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, I think.
Yeah.
It's just there. So that's why if my voice sounds weird coming through the mic, because I've turned to the side. But I'm also still trying to talk into the microphone like this. It's not very comfortable. Yeah, it's Sons of Liberty. That's the one on the big oil rig.
Yeah.
And it goes crazy. Balls to the wall, as pretty much all of them did. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 featured in the Smithsonian American Art Museum's exhibition on the art of video games in 2012. Apparently. I don't know in what capacity, but when you think about it, it's a Smithsonian American, like in America, that's like really weird.
It's one of the biggest museums in the world.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've been into the Smithsonian when I went to America. This is gonna.
You did go to DC, didn't you?
Yeah, it's the Smithsonian is just off the way on. What? This is gonna sound stupid, right? So you've got the Washington Monument, and then on one end you've got the Lincoln Memorial, and then on the other you've got, is it Capitol Hill?
Yeah.
What's that big thing?
Strip called? I'm not sure what it is called.
But the Smithsonian is just off there, I think.
There's loads of different. Yeah. There's loads of different bits to it.
Yeah, and then
there's got like 15 buildings.
And then if you walk down one of the roads on the other side, you got the White House.
Yeah.
I think the Smithsonian's just around there, because I went into a museum, like a big American one, where now for Americans listening, this is either to confirm it or to tell you that I'm a fucking idiot, because I don't know how many museums there are in DC, but it's the one that you go into and it's got all like the planes hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah,
I think that's the Smithsonian.
It's one of them, but like I said, it's got so many different buildings to it, and I think they're all connected.
I kind of wish I went in 2012 now though, because then I could have seen that exhibition.
Yeah,
would have been cool. All I got to do at the Smithsonian was sit in one of those pod things, and then you strap yourself in, and it's like a flight simulator.
That sounds
fun. And you can go upside down. I almost threw up. It was horrible. Like, it was fun.
That sounds so fun.
Going like, you think, like when you play games with a little joystick, and you're like, or you go into an arcade, you're like, controlling a plane must be really easy. Doing it like for real, doing it for real when it tips you upside down, it's fucking impossible. I was gonna say,
imagine doing that, but also having to withstand like up to 10 G's of force,
and also being upside down.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not easy on any level.
I'm not surprised,
it's
mate.
Really hard, and that was just, you start in that simulation in the air. Imagine having to take off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're in the simulation. You have to shoot people down, and I just missed every single one. Makes you realize how Ace Combat just makes it too easy for you, because they just lock on like that.
Yeah.
And then in real life, it's like you've not locked on, and I'm like, but I've played Ace Combat. I know how this works. Or you try to use the machine gun, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, graphically, it didn't look very good. It was very like early PS2 flat surface on the floor, but I mean, it was fun because it like swiveled you upside down and stuff. It's just really hard because when you go upside down, it feels like you're gonna fall out of the chair, because even though you're strapped in, you sort of, if you know what I mean, because the chair's upside down, you do drop a little bit.
Yeah,
and it's really like not very comfortable, which was unfortunate. But then again, I didn't actually throw up, so that's the main thing.
Oh, that's good then.
So during August of 2015, Eurogamer reanalyzed the game's technical and overall impacts and claimed that Metal Gear Solid had been nothing less than the first modern video game, and in September 2015, Metal Gear Solid was voted the best original PlayStation game of all time by PlayStation.blogs users. So everyone thinks it's top notch.
Yeah.
And that it's the first modern video. Would you call it the first modern video game, or would you call something else the first modern video game?
It depends what you mean by modern.
Whatever you mean by modern, mate, just come up with something, I guess.
I think
he's thinking.
I'd say it's definitely a contender for it.
I would have said GoldenEye, maybe that's just because I've just read it on here.
Yeah.
Or like maybe in terms of modern, I would think modern is 3D, so I'd probably say Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
Because it's the first major. Like, you've got Jumping Flash on the PS1, which was 3D, but it wasn't exactly good. It's like first person, you're in this like little mech thing, and it just jumps, and you can turn left and right, and it's a 3D environment, but it's not like makes you feel like you're in a 3D world.
Yeah.
Like Mario does. But yeah, that's the end of this episode of the podcast. So if you're interested in any of the other episodes, you can check them out on wherever you're listening to this, because we have the podcast on YouTube. I was going to say Facebook streaming then. We stream it on Facebook on loop. No, we've got it on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes. I think that's it. And then, as I mentioned before, underneath Michael talking, we also have the script and the sources, which I've been reading off here. Which, trust me, if you read through the script online, it'll probably be better than me actually reading it out like this.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm like, bleh. But then you don't get the sick ass banter.
Yeah.
That we've not been having.
Great banter.
Great banter, it really is. So you get all that great banter on here, but you don't get it on the script. I'm not going to add in all the banter as we go typing away. Yeah, so on my WordPress you can find that, which is willnelson2508. And then what else do we usually plug? We got a Twitter, which is Release Retro, which has links to all the episodes on and just anything else I'm really fancy. I say anything else. It's not like I go on there all the time and type my political views or something.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll use it for other things if I deem it appropriate. And then we also have an email address if you want to email us anything. Like it's releaseretropod@gmail.com. I'll get used to rolling these off. We'll find an order for them, and then we'll just roll it out in one go. But yeah, if you want to recommend us a game to play, recommend us a game not to play, to talk about, or if you want to recommend us a game to play
it.
yeah,
you can play it.
Or if you want to recommend us something not to play, because it's terrible
to avoid, that'd be also nice.
Yeah, that
don't
would be
waste our money.
Yeah. You're like, this is coming out, don't play it. Or do you know that game from 30 years ago, Pong? Yeah, you don't need to play it. I'll be like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna anyway, mate.
No.
But fair enough.
I'll just go over and play like table tennis. I'll play actual. I mean, at the time, I guess Pong probably was cool, but again, would that be the first modern video? No, that would just be the first video game.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Or it's either that or Asteroid. Do you know Asteroid?
Yeah.
You want me a little mouse and you like go around in a circle and you shoot asteroids.
Yeah.
It's not exactly interesting, is it?
No, mate.
It's funny though how when you think about those classic video games, Space Invaders is like the only one that's actually lasted.
Yeah.
Like if I saw Space Invaders in an arcade, I'd be like, oh, sick, Space Invaders, because it's simple. But
I'm Pong though.
I suppose if you had somebody else with you, I'd be like, yeah, Pong.
Yeah.
But if I was on my own, just walking into an arcade, I'd be like, oh, Pong.
Yeah.
Just play, but like against myself, both hands.
Yeah.
Because it's probably just like two joysticks and you move them up and down. So yeah, that was the episode. I think it's a bit shorter than our usual episodes. Maybe I can't really tell, but yeah. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.